I've been chomping at the bit, folks, to be back in this arena, as the great Teddy Roosevelt would put it. But we're back, and we got some breaking news from this morning from the man himself, Adrian Wojnarowski. According to Woj, and y'all know he's not wrong much, but the tweet up right now for the streaming audience. According to Woj, Denver Nuggets center Nikola Jokic has been voted the NBA's most valuable player for a second consecutive season, sources tell ESPN. A formal announcement is expected this week. So this is obviously news that anybody who's been following Carving It Up for any amount of time knows that I've been dreading this news for a very long time. I said last year that Nikola Jokic was not the MVP, but I already made that case. I already did a show last year for why he was not the 2021 MVP and why it should have been either Steph Curry, who would have been my MVP, or Chris Paul, who I wouldn't have had an issue with. I've made that case. I'm going to make the case today in 2022. So let's talk about, first of all, the historical ramifications of this, of Nikola Jokic becoming a back-to-back MVP. He now joins a very exclusive club. An exclusive club that, folks, he is not in any way, shape, or form fit to be a part of players who have won consecutive most valuable players. More on that middle word, that middle letter in just a second. The first player in NBA history to win consecutive most valuable players, he actually won 3 straight, was the great Bill Russell. And before I get into Bill Russell, what you're going to see, with the exception of one of these MVPs, is we cannot tell the story of the game of basketball without them. Like, if we take them out, you are taking a big, big chunk of NBA history away. Okay? Bill Russell won 3 straight MVPs from the years 1960 to 1962. What do we know? If you know nothing else, if you never saw Bill Russell play, which the vast majority of us did not see Bill Russell play, but what does everybody know about Bill Russell? He's got more rings than he has fingers, right? 11 rings. 11 rings in 13 years. 11-1 record in the NBA Finals. Everybody knows that about Bill Russell, right? You can't tell the story of the NBA without Bill Russell. The second player to win consecutive MVPs, he also won 3 straight, was one Wilt Chamberlain, who did it 1965, 66, and 67. What does everybody know about Wilt Chamberlain? He's got the most unbreakable records in NBA history. 100 points in a game. Nobody's ever going to do that. We think. But can we envision anybody, even in today's NBA, which Lord knows is as skilled as it's ever been? I can't see anybody in today's NBA scoring 100 points in a game. I mean, 100 points? What? He has the rebounding record, which you look at the numbers for rebounding, he's not going to be caught in that department. He once had 55 rebounds in a single game. Like, I always joke on the show. Anytime that a player does something historic and they're on the same list as Wilt Chamberlain, you did something really good. If you are on any list with Wilt Chamberlain, you did something good. It is a guarantee, right? And so Wilt Chamberlain, you can't tell the story of the NBA without him. Even though he only has 2 championships with all that talent. You can't tell the story of the National Basketball Association without Wilt the Stilt. The third player to do it was Larry Bird, Larry Legend, who also did it 3 straight times from the years 1983 to 1985. Well, come on. Larry Bird and the next player I'm going to mention, a couple of players I'm going to mention down the road, Magic Johnson, saved the NBA. You got to realize, folks, in the 70s, nobody cared about the NBA. People honestly care more about the ABA, the American Basketball Association, and then, of course, the two merged. Magic and Bird came in the league at the same year, 1979. They had just had an epic duel in the national championship. Larry Bird's, little old Indiana State came up short against Magic Johnson's Michigan State Spartans, one of the blue bloods of college basketball. They both come into the league, both dominate, go toe-to-toe year after year after year in the finals. It's the greatest player rivalry in NBA history. Larry Bird, probably the greatest Celtic of all time. I think we would all agree with that. One of the greatest shooters, one of the greatest Celtics. 3 straight MVPs. He's the last guy to do that. The next guy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who did it twice from the years 1970 to 1971, and 1975 to 1976. What does everybody know about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? All-time leading scorer in NBA history. Most unstoppable shot in NBA history. The sky hook, right? Even when he came out, when they did the NBA 75 greatest players of all time, what did Kareem do? Kareem walked out there. He did his little sky hook and, walked to take his place amongst, the rest of the greats. That's what we all know about Kareem. If you look at high school, college, NBA, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest player ever. If you look at high school and college, right? He's one of the greatest of all time. An argument can be made, he might be the best player ever. 6 championships, 6 regular season MVPs, right? Kareem did it twice. This is the guys Jokic is on the same list with. Moses Malone, 2 straight MVPs. Moses Malone played with Dr. J with the Philadelphia 76ers. It's the last championship the Sixers won back in 1981. Argument can be made Moses Malone might have been the best player on that team. Because once he joined, that was one of the greatest teams in NBA history, those 76ers teams of the late 70s, early 80s. Some of the greatest teams in NBA history. Headlined by Dr. J and Moses Malone. He's got 2 MVPs. Keep looking down the list. Magic Johnson. Showtime Lakers, greatest point guard of all time. Some argue the greatest Laker of all time. Magic Johnson, 6'9", greatest point guard ever. We know about the smile, Showtime, everything. This is the list that Jokic is on now. Okay. Michael Jeffrey Jordan. I would not say consensus, but I would say the majority of fans, myself included, say greatest basketball player who ever lived. He won 2 straight MVPs. We all know about the 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs. We know the legend of Michael Jordan. We know the aura of Michael Jordan that still carries on to this very day. Shoe sales. We saw how he was honored, how he was honored at the NBA 75th anniversary team celebration. Michael Jordan's the GOAT. Of course, he's got consecutive MVPs. Tim Duncan, greatest player in the history of his position. Greatest power forward of all time, right? Every championship that the Spurs have ever won, Tim Duncan's been a part of it, right? The big fundamental, never the flashiest player ever, but was one of the greatest players ever in terms of production. Go back and look at the finals against the Detroit Pistons. I think it was 2005 that the Spurs won against the Pistons. And go look at Tim Duncan's numbers from that Game 7 and tell me he's not one of the 10 greatest players of all time. Tim Duncan, 2 straight MVPs from the years 2001 to 2002. Steve Nash, the only guy on this list that I'm like, don't know if he even deserved one. He definitely took an stolen MVP from Kobe. We know that. And he probably stole an MVP from Shaq. So Steve Nash is the only one I got issues with. Okay? LeBron James, who did it twice from the years 2008 to 2009 and 2011 to 2012. The one gap year in between was Derrick Rose when he won it in 2010. LeBron James. I mean, come on now. Come on. Longest prime of any player maybe in sports history aside from Tom Brady. A guy who a pretty big chunk of people say he's the greatest of all time. LeBron's the greatest ever. That's what a lot of people say. And I've religiously said in the show, he's got a chance, in my view. I don't think he's there yet. I think he's definitely number 2. He's got a shot to be the GOAT, absolutely. He's going to pass Kareem next season. LeBron did it twice. Wardell Stephen Curry II, my favorite basketball player of all time, the man who is the reason that I started watching the game in 2013. Steph Curry, greatest shooter of all time, consensus, everybody agrees with that. Really led the Warriors from the gutter. The Warriors were a laughingstock organization. Today, 3 championships, right? Contending for one, I believe, are going to win a 4th this season. I'll talk about the Warriors later in the show. And Steph Curry has the only unanimous MVP in NBA history. It's never been done before. Steph Curry's won 2 straight MVPs. And finally, Giannis. Giannis Antetokounmpo, a guy who, in my view, currently, today, is the best player in basketball. He is certainly the best two-way player in basketball. His second MVP, he also won Defensive Player of the Year. Similar to Steph, took the Bucks from the gutter, a garbage organization, to they got a chance to win 2 straight championships. Are you kidding me? And then Nikola Jokic, who has been to 1 conference finals. Bryson, it's not a postseason award. First of all, it's part of my problem with it. But secondly, I've said religiously on this show, I would vote Giannis MVP. I think no player in the NBA affects both sides of the basketball more than Giannis Antetokounmpo. But if Joel Embiid won the award, you would hear no complaints from this show. Given the Ben Simmons crap that he had to deal with, given that Doc Rivers is his head coach, love Doc Rivers, love that man. But we know about his postseason failures. Given that the Sixers roster was, he stayed healthy. We saw what he averaged this season, led the league in scoring. We know that. And we're seeing Joel Embiid's value coming back for the 76ers, completely turning that series around against the Miami Heat. We know his value. And so the thing that bothers me above all else is the one consistency with the NBA MVP, with the NBA media. They changed the narrative like nobody's business. That creaking sound, you hear that creaking sound? That's them shifting the goalpost right now as we speak for next year's MVP. Okay? Because the consistent thing is, well, Nikola Jokic had a better year this year than he did last year, and because last year he won MVP, then even though the Nuggets are the 6th seed in the weaker conference, we just got to give him the MVP, don't we? Just because his numbers were better. Hold up. Wait a minute. Time out. James Harden won the MVP in 2018. Don't think he should have, but that's another discussion for another day. James Harden won MVP in 2018. Okay. James Harden that season, okay, averaged, do I have the number right here? Yes. James Harden averaged 30 points a game that season, his MVP season. The next season, he averaged 36 and did not win. But he was better. As a matter of fact, Houston had more injuries the year prior. They had to deal with more internal stuff. They had a Carmelo Anthony issue. Chris Paul dealt with injuries. James Harden kept the Rockets alive, averaged more points than he ever had in his career, and led the league in scoring and did not win MVP. Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double in 2017, won MVP. He averaged a triple-double again the next season. Didn't finish in the top 3. He did it again the next year. Did not finish in the top 5. But I thought if you duplicate an MVP season, so what am I missing? Steph Curry averaged 30 points a game in 2016. Won MVP. Last year, he averaged 32 points a game. But he doesn't win? What am I missing here? Like, if that's the narrative that we are going to push, if that is what we are going to convey, NBA media, analytic-driven media, why not Harden? Or Steph? Or Westbrook? Voted them MVP, right? To be fair, obviously, I think Steph deserved both of his MVPs in 2015-16. But if we're going to stay consistent on that narrative, then let's stay consistent on that narrative. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube. Be sure to click that big red subscribe button and go check out the other clips and full shows of Carving It Up Live. Have a blessed day.